Stop everything for a second, because what happened on the clay at the Madrid Open wasn't just a loss. It was a lesson, a sharp, unforgiving, high-level lesson in what separates potential from precision. Alex Eala walked into that round of 64 match riding momentum, hype, and belief. The narrative was building fast, maybe too fast. After her opening performance, the conversation had already jumped ahead. Breakthrough run, deep draw, maybe even something bigger. But across the net stood Elise Mertens, and she brought something the hype couldn't account for: control. This wasn't about power. It wasn't about highlight reel winners. It was about structure, decision-making, and experience applied with precision. The scoreline 6-2, 6-1 looks dominant, but the real story sits underneath it. Because here's the number that should make you pause: 88% first serves in from Eala. That's elite. On paper, that's the kind of percentage that usually puts a player in control of a match. Coaches dream of that level of consistency. But then comes the contradiction. She won just 47% of those points. And that's where the match flips from surprising to revealing. This is what you'd call the first serve illusion. High percentage doesn't automatically mean high effectiveness. If the serve lacks intent, if it's placed without pressure, without variation, without bite, it becomes predictable, attackable. And against someone like Mertens, that's a problem. Because Mertens doesn't need pace to take control. She needs patterns. She reads placement early, positions herself efficiently, and redirects with purpose. When Eala reduced risk on her serve, dialing down speed, simplifying spin, prioritizing safety, she unintentionally gave Mertens exactly what she thrives on: rhythm. From there, it became a tactical squeeze. Mertens didn't rush. She didn't overhit. She built points. She moved Eala side to side, stretched the court, and slowly removed options. Every rally had shape. Every return had intent. It wasn't explosive. It was suffocating. That's high-level tennis. And for Eala, this is where the real value of the match lies. Because matches like this don't just expose weaknesses, they clarify them. The serve wasn't failing because it missed. It was failing because it didn't hurt. The rallies weren't lost because of one shot. They were lost because of positioning, anticipation, and experience layered over time. Mertens showed what it looks like to manage a match, not just play one. Now, it's important to stay grounded here. This isn't a collapse of potential. It's not a step backward. It's part of the process. Eala is still building her game at this level. And facing someone like Mertens, someone who turns small inefficiencies into big advantages, is exactly the kind of test that accelerates that growth. Because now the questions are clearer. How do you maintain a high first serve percentage and keep it aggressive? How do you vary placement under pressure? How do you disrupt a player who thrives on rhythm? Those are the adjustments that turn promising players into consistent threats. So yes, the hype might have run ahead of reality. That happens. But what matters more is what comes next. Because if Eala takes this match the right way, not emotionally, but analytically, this could end up being one of the most valuable experiences of her season. Not a setback, a calibration. There's a real point buried in all that intensity, but the psychological collapse angle is doing more storytelling than analysis. What happened on that court at the Madrid Open was simpler, and in many ways more instructive. A seasoned, elite returner exposed a predictable serving pattern and then controlled the match from the first strike. Elise Mertens is exactly the kind of player who punishes that. Multiple-time Grand Slam doubles champion, years inside the top tier of the tour, her return game is built on timing, positioning, and anticipation. When she recognized that Alex Eala was prioritizing safety on her first serve, high percentage, but reduced pace and variation, she didn't hesitate. She stepped inside the baseline, took the ball early, and immediately flipped the point into her control. That's the key dynamic. An 88% first serve percentage sounds dominant, but only if it carries weight. If the serve isn't forcing a weak reply, it becomes neutral, or worse, attackable. And against someone like Mertens, a neutral ball is an invitation. From there, the numbers you're pointing to start to make sense. Mertens winning a huge share of return points, generating double-digit break chances, and converting efficiently. That's not random dominance. That's pattern recognition plus execution. She identified the rhythm, stepped in, and dictated almost every service game. The contrast in breakpoint opportunities tells the same story. Mertens constantly applied pressure. Eala rarely got a look. That doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of one player controlling court position from the very first shot. Now, about that 7-game run. Yes, it's significant. At this level, runs like that usually mean one player has completely locked into a winning pattern while the other hasn't found a way to disrupt it yet. But calling it a catastrophic psychological collapse misses the bigger picture. This is what the jump to WTA 1000 level looks like. At lower tiers, a safe first serve can keep you in points. At this level, it can put you in immediate danger. The margin is thinner, the punishment is quicker, and opponents like Mertens don't let patterns repeat without consequences. What Eala ran into wasn't just pressure, it was precision. She wasn't given free points because Mertens doesn't give them. Every rally was structured, every return had intent, and every short ball was used to take control. That's not about breaking someone's spirit. It's about executing a game plan so cleanly that the other player is constantly reacting. And that's where the real value of this match lies for Eala. It highlights exactly what needs to evolve. A first serve that keeps the high percentage, but adds variation and better protection of second ball positioning after serve tools to disrupt a returner who steps inside and attacks early. Those are high-level adjustments, not fundamental flaws. Because here's the reality. Facing someone like Mertens at this stage is part of the process. These are the matches that sharpen decision-making, expose patterns, and accelerate growth. So yes, it was one-sided. Yes, the stats are tough reading. But this wasn't a breakdown. It was a benchmark. And now the next step is clear. There's a lot of drama in that framing, but the core idea is actually very real, and much more useful when you strip it down to what actually wins matches at this level. What Elise Mertens did on the clay at the Madrid Open wasn't mystical or cruel. It was precise, repeatable, and deeply professional. And yes, this is exactly the kind of test every rising player like Alexandra Eala eventually runs into. Let's ground this in reality. That moment you described, Eala unloading a heavy topspin forehand and Mertens calmly redirecting it for a winner. That's not about one player's best not being good enough. It's about how that shot is received at the elite level. Mertens isn't overwhelmed by spin or pace because her positioning is already set, her balance is controlled, and her contact point is early. She absorbs, redirects, and takes time away. That's not intimidation. That's technique plus experience. Where Mertens really separated herself was in 3 areas. 1. Depth over power. Madrid's altitude makes the ball fly. Big hitting without margin becomes risky fast. Mertens understood that she didn't need to overpower. She needed to outplace. Deep, controlled shots into uncomfortable zones forced Eala to hit from defensive positions repeatedly. That's how errors accumulate, not from panic, but from being pushed slightly off balance again and again. 2. Return positioning and first strike control. We talked earlier about the first serve dynamic. Mertens stepping inside the baseline and taking the ball early didn't just win points, it dictated patterns. Eala wasn't starting rallies neutral, she was starting them on defense. That's a huge difference at this level. 3. Shot tolerance and patience. This is where the forcing the issue versus building the point contrast shows up. Eala went for higher risk shots, trying to break through. Mertens stayed within her structure, trusting that if she kept the ball deep and accurate, the openings would come naturally. That's not waiting for collapse. That's constructing points. Now, about the idea of Mertens as a gatekeeper. There's some truth there, but it's not about blocking players. It's about setting the standard. Players like Mertens expose gaps. Can you protect your serve under pressure? Can you generate offense without overhitting? Can you win points when your opponent neutralizes your best patterns? Those are the real questions. And this is where it's important not to overdramatize what happened to Eala. She didn't hit her ceiling and fail. She ran into a player who executes at a higher level of consistency and decision-making right now. That gap is normal. It's expected. And it's exactly what young players need to experience to evolve. Because the path forward becomes clearer. Add more variation and intent to the serve. Improve point construction under pressure. Develop ways to disrupt players who take time early. Those are refinements, not reinventions. As for the bigger picture, yes, there's excitement around Eala, especially from the Philippines. That comes with expectations. But one loss like this doesn't define anything long-term. If anything, matches like this are where future top players build the adjustments that eventually close the gap. Mertens showed what elite consistency looks like. Now the question is how quickly Eala adapts to it, and that's where things get really interesting. There's a strong analytical core in what you're saying, but calling talent useless without elite execution goes a bit too far. Talent is the foundation. What this match showed is that at a WTA 1000 level, talent without refinement gets exposed quickly. And that's exactly what happened to Alexandra Eala against Elise Mertens. Let's break it down cleanly, because beneath all the intensity, there are real takeaways that matter. 1. The serve isn't broken, but it's incomplete. You're right about one thing. A first serve that only starts the point isn't enough at this level. But reconstructing it from scratch isn't the move. It's about adding layers, more variation, wide, body, tee, more intent on first ball patterns, better second shot positioning after serve. The goal isn't just pace, it's unpredictability. Players like Mertens punish repetition, not just weakness. 2. Plan B isn't optional. It's essential. This is where your point really hits. When a baseline game gets neutralized, continuing to hit harder is exactly what experienced players want. Eala's next step is expanding her toolkit, using slice to break rhythm, changing height and tempo, bringing opponents forward, selectively constructing points instead of forcing them. That's not abandoning aggression. It's controlling when and how to use it. 3. This wasn't a massacre. It was a benchmark. The language of collapse or humiliation doesn't really help the analysis. What matters is that Mertens showed what high-level consistency, positioning, and decision-making look like over 2 sets. That's valuable, because now Eala and her team have clarity. Not guesswork, not hype. Actual data on what breaks down against top-tier opposition. And here's the bigger truth. Every top player you mentioned, Serena Williams, Rafael Nadal, had matches early in their careers where the gap was obvious. The difference is what came after. That's the real test. Not whether Eala got outplayed, that happens, but whether she adjusts. Does the serve evolve? Does the point construction mature? Does she learn to disrupt instead of react? If the answer is yes, then this match becomes exactly what you hinted at, a turning point. 4. On Mertens, give credit, but keep it grounded. Calling her a gatekeeper is catchy, but what she really is consistent excellence. Players like her don't rely on peaks, they rely on standards. Depth, balance, anticipation, and discipline. And those are the exact qualities rising players have to learn to deal with if they want to move up. So here's the reality without the theatrics. Eala wasn't exposed as not good enough. She was shown what good enough actually requires. The gap is real, but it's also bridgeable, and that's what makes this interesting. Because now it's not about hype anymore. It's about adaptation.